Men in Black International is a spin-off of the original Men in Black films and stars Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson together once again, which is great to see. You know, they were in Avengers Endgame, Thor Ragnarok, and so it's great to see the chemistry once again on the big screen. This movie tells the story of Molly, or Agent M, played by Tessa Thompson, and her story of becoming an agent in the Men in Black organization. Eventually, she meets Agent H, and together they try to save the world as well as figure out who this mole is in this very secretive organization. I remember watching the original Men in Black films way back as a kid, and while I didn't really understand them too well back then, I do remember that they blew me away. You know, they were just such iconic films, and Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones were so great together that it's hard to envision anyone else as the Men in Black. So I had very mixed feelings going into this movie. I mean, why would you tamper with an already good series unless this film was going to be very revolutionary, which it wasn't. Making a spin-off just didn't feel right, so I didn't expect this movie to be very good. And you know, it ended up being exactly as I expected it to be. This movie was okay, it was fine. Easily the best part of the movie would be seeing the chemistry between Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson. They just perform so well with each other. And I mean, it's just so hard to see Chris Hemsworth fuck up on screen. He's just so charismatic. The CGI was also very cool. There was this express train transformation scene, and then the scene where they were fighting the antagonists and they were pulling out guns from their car. I love seeing the aliens in action and what they could do, although I felt like this movie had a lack of aliens. It felt very story-oriented. I wanted to see more of them. And speaking of story, I would say that after the first act or a little bit further on, the story kind of lost my interest. It was interesting when I didn't know what to expect, but as soon as everything unfolded itself, it didn't become as interesting anymore. Does that make sense? Also, this movie tries to be funny, but for me it just doesn't work. It got to a point where it became kind of cringy. But probably the best part of the movie for me would be Chris Hemsworth holding up a tiny hammer and throwing it, just like he was Thor again in the Avengers. I like that reference a lot. That was pretty funny even though they weren't trying to be. Although I wish there was more backstory to Rebecca Ferguson's character, Reza. The scene with her just felt very off because we didn't see her until after halfway through the movie. Apparently she had some relations with Agent H in the past, but okay, that's pretty much it. But the weakest part of the movie for me would be the antagonist. I mean, it was cool to look at them and it was cool to see what they could do, but they didn't really have anything going with them. I just wish there was more to those characters. And this isn't uncommon. I mean, I've stated this in many movies where the antagonists are very bland and boring. I just wish that antagonists in movies were celebrated a lot more, but probably not to the extent of Thanos in Avengers Infinity War. The ending was interesting and it was surprising, but it didn't really blow me away. Towards the end, I'm like, huh? Wait, is that it? But then there's more. But after that, I'm like, huh? This really is the end. Like, it was just so anticlimactic. I didn't hate this movie. It was slightly better than I thought it would be, and that's largely based on the performances of Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson. You know, they carry the shit out of this movie. I was trying to look at this movie as its own movie and not compare it to the original films because I know for a fact that it wasn't going to be as good. But even as its own movie, it's still not that good. I'm going to give Men in Black International a C+. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Have you seen Men in Black International? What did you think about it? Please leave a comment about your thoughts below. Like the video if you liked it, and drop a sub to help the channel out. Also, feel free to check out my previous video. Until next time.